On June the 2nd, Rust will be coming out with possibly its most controversial update ever, being the Recoil update. And in this update, as you'll know, recoils will be significantly easier on most guns. And you can clearly see the difference. A lot, and I mean a lot of people are upset, which is inevitable being such a massive change to how Rust PvP works. But in this video, I'll try to convince you that this update really isn't as shit as most people say it to be. The main changes coming to this update are, as previously mentioned, recoils being changed, as well as gun sounds being remade, slight movement changes, certain attachments being nerfed, and other irrelevant stuff we really don't care about. We're also getting, a brand new gun and a new attachment, but let's be real, who cares about those? Anyways, enough with this information you probably already know. Where were we? Right. It seems that more people are severely disappointed with the new update than ever, as it currently is on the staging branch. And that makes sense. This is one of, if not the most controversial update coming, because of how many core mechanics are changed. To be honest, most of the people who are upset with the update are those who have spent a good amount of hours on aim train practicing recoil, and I don't blame them. It's understandable to get upset when we spent possibly hundreds of hours practicing, something that is now wasted time because most of the guns are getting a different, easier spraying pattern. I mean, you can clearly see the difference of how the guns have always been and how they are now. I don't blame people for being upset. However, there's really no point to hating the Rust devs because they are making changes and progressing with their game. This update will likely benefit Rust long term. What I mean by this is, for example, how the AK is now much more attractive, I feel like, but more on that later. And for those who mean that this update will kill the game, it won't. Sure, some people, actually probably a lot of people are going to uninstall, but so do people with any update really. The Rust devs can't possibly satisfy everyone, that's just not possible. And I feel like most people, especially non-beamer casuals, will be happy for a change like this, where you don't have to spend many hours practicing one part of PvP, being the recoil. When you think about it, how much does recoil actually matter in a fight? I see people saying stuff like,
the devs messed up when a 300-hour player suddenly beam you with over 2k hours.
There's some shit like that. And where do I see this? On fucking aim train servers, 1v1s, etc. Obviously, I mean, fights on aim train servers are nothing alike regular server fights, or whatever you call those. I mean, fights on aim train are purely recoil and aim based, in my opinion. You know exactly where your opponent spawns, you just peek out of a wall and shoot. If you know the recoil and have decent aim, you can easily kill them in a matter of seconds. And so if a 300-hour player learns the recoil, it's obvious that they can kill you. But recoil can only win you so much. Recoil is such a small part of any fight compared to aim, positioning, movement, game sense, information, confidence, loadout, opponents, and so much more. You really can't compare a fight on an aim training server to one where you actually have something to lose. Another change I don't see so many people talk about is how the holo sight got a significant nerf, having its added accuracy onto the weapon going from 70% I believe down to just 10%. And I honestly love this because it doesn't make sense that an MP5 is better than an AK on mid-range. Most people prefer MP5 over AK because of 1, it's easier to obtain, and 2, it's easier to use. AK as it is now has such a difficult recoil compared to MP5, and a holo sight practically makes an MP5 a fucking laser anyways. So if you know the recoil good enough on MP5, you can beat AK on most ranges. And so now that MP5 and other SMGs are way more inaccurate, I feel like more people will start to use AKs instead if they have the chance because of recoil being much more manageable. All in all, I honestly feel like this update is going to be big, and sure, people are going to be mad, but then again, you can't make everyone happy, that doesn't work. Recoil is again such a small part of any fights, to the point where if you blame a proper fight on recoil, especially when complaining how a 300-hour player beats you, then A 300 hour player won't beat you in that case because of recoil itself. There's so much more than just recoil. And another thing to keep in mind is that this is on the staging branch for a reason. Facebench wants to see what the update feels like and what the community wants. I definitely believe they're going to be rolling out with some sort of recoil update regardless, which is what concerns most people. At least they're willing to go out of their comfort zone to improve the game and experiment, which not a lot of companies do these days. So you gotta respect them for that. But then again, maybe this video is just a fucking mess and I don't know what I'm talking about. That sounds like me.